Hi, everybody. This is Colin Murphy, and welcome to podcast number 12. So, sorry about the delay between podcast 12 and 11. It's been a busy month for Torcana. I've been traveling a lot of exciting things happening, but I'm back at my desk now and I'm looking forward to talking to you for the next 15 or 20 minutes or so. My theme today is the five key pieces of knowledge every investor should start with. And because so new investors, no matter where they're starting out, no matter whether you're starting out with no money at all or hundreds of thousands of dollars, everybody has a massive learning curve if they want to be successful. There's a ton of stuff to know before you can really dive in. Obviously, nobody can become successful without making mistakes. I don't think any successful person would argue with that at all. But if you want to minimize those mistakes, you can do it. You can learn from the mistakes of other people, first of all. But here are five pieces of knowledge that could form the basis of a foundation that you can lay down and build on from there. Okay? So, the first piece of knowledge that every investor should start with is that you decide what your goals are. Okay? Decide what your goals are, number one, but write them down and then track them. So you can't really research it. It needs a lot of introspection. It could also be extremely useful if you spend some time going to investor meetings, spend time networking with other people that are successful property investors or have been doing it for a while. They can give you a lot of guidance. They can listen to you, give you some options that you can consider. I mean, there's a lot to figure out. A lot of which will only come with experience, but you still need a plan before you jump in. One thing I'd always be a big fan of is aim high and work backwards from there. So even if you've no money and you want to earn, you can write a goal saying I want 20 properties in the next 2 years. Okay, that might sound outlandish, but write it down and then work backwards from there. So does that mean you're going to buy 5 this year and 15 the following year? Okay, how do you do that? How would you get the money? Where would you find them? Where would you find the time to source them? Who would you get to manage them? Just work backwards. And even if you don't get to the 20 properties, you might get to 10. Okay? Either way, if you fall short, you'll most likely have accomplished way more than people who just go with the flow and decide, okay, I'm going to start buying a couple of rental properties. If you have a big goal and you really aim for it, you really work backwards from the big goal, you'll get much further along the line than people that don't do that. Okay, so decide what your goals are. Take as long as you need to do it, but do it intensively if you can for a few weeks. Get some help from more experienced people that can guide you, but ultimately it's you. You need to make your goals. You should involve your spouse as well, because there's no point in having these super ambitious real estate goals that will affect your budget and your finances considerably if you aren't involving your other half in it. You do need to do that. So do it and then write them down and stick with it and see how far you can get. Okay, so that's the first piece of knowledge you should do. Get your goals. Second piece of knowledge every investor should start with, part of your foundation, are the relevant laws in the real estate markets. Now, I'm not suggesting that you need to transform yourself into a real estate lawyer or a title agent, but you should certainly be aware that there's a lot of laws and liabilities to consider. Real estate can be a real minefield. I mean, in my experience, if you have a good title agent and a good property manager really watching your back, not just like watching your back, that you've gone out of your way to befriend these people, you've brought them out for lunches, coffees, invited them around to your barbecues, whatever it might be. If you go out of your way to get somebody that has a lot of legal knowledge and detailed knowledge of the laws and liabilities of real estate, get these kinds of guys watching your back, and you can avoid a huge amount of legal headaches. So you should read a couple of books that give you an idea of what you need to be aware of, what kind of discrimination laws and fair housing laws are out there, what kind of laws there are regarding owning a property in different states or different trusts. Or I mean, there's an awful lot of stuff to consider, and you're never going to learn it all, certainly not at the beginning, but at a very minimum you should get a good title agent and a good property manager watching your back. If you can get a good real estate lawyer as well, even better. Okay, number 3 is avoiding catchphrase rules. I mean, I see this a lot. I go on websites like biggerpockets.com, try and participate in some of the forums, ask some questions there, answer other questions for other people. And if you ever spend an hour on the website, particularly on new investors or wannabe investors, you'll see a lot of people talking about the 2% rule or the 50% rule. Say I have this property, but the 2% rule says I should offer X. Now, just to clarify, the 2% rule, inverted commas, is a rule that says gross rents should be 2% of the purchase price. So if you have a property and you know that it's going to rent for $1,000, then the property you should be offering $50,000 for that. Okay, so $1,000 is 2% of $50,000. If the rents are $500, you should be offering $25,000, and so on. The 50% rule is another rule that you'll hear quoted all over the place, and that's a rule that says you should assume operating expenses are half your rents. So if you think your gross income is going to be $24,000 a year, your net income would probably be close to $12,000 a year. So there's no point in actually memorizing these or using them because they're mostly useless. I'm only telling you about them so that you know not to use them. Too many new guys trying to get involved are using these rules to make offers that make no sense and jump into stuff, forgetting half the stuff they should be taking into account. Okay, if you really want to calculate what a property is worth, you need a good handle on the cash flow. You need proper spreadsheet templates to analyze a lot of the variables. Okay, I've got more than 50 rows in my template where I have a property address at the top and then literally 50 rows of information underneath that'll give me an idea of what my cash flow is, what my property's worth, what the comps are. I take into account property taxes, property management, property insurance, vacancy allowance, maintenance allowance, any liens that might be outstanding, mortgage payments. A ton of stuff. There's some free calculators out there. Biggerpockets.com have some good calculators that are a good starting point, but they're just templates. You should really do your own and forget about rules. Just work out what you want. What kind of, some people are happy buying a really great quality house that'll give them a solid 6% net rental return every year. Fair enough. Other people want to buy lower income properties that'll get them 10% return every year, and obviously they're both completely different strategies. They're both completely viable, but the kind of rule of thumbs don't really apply to either. You just decide what return you're happy with and bid based on that after you've made sure you have a good idea of your cash flow. And the only way you're going to do that is if you practice analyzing deals. So before you bid on a property for real, you should be analyzing dozens and dozens of deals. Okay, once you've analyzed 100 deals, you'll actually get pretty good at it. Once you've got to 200 and 500, you'll be even better. I've analyzed thousands at this stage, but even getting to 100, that might sound like a big goal, but just think about it. If you just do analyze 5 deals a week, just one, Monday to Friday, you'll get to your 100 within a few months. Okay, so just analyze a deal every working day for a few months. Just pick a neighborhood that you're interested in. Start tweaking your spreadsheets as you go along and just figure, okay, I would pay X for that property, and then try and figure out what somebody actually did pay for it to get a handle of whether you're in the ballpark or not. But practice analyzing a lot of deals. Okay, practice it and you'll get better at it. Once you've got a bit of experience analyzing them, then you can do it for real. Okay, just take half an hour, 45 minutes every evening when the kids are asleep, when the house is quiet, whatever it might be, and just analyze a deal. Okay, pick a property that looks okay and analyze it, and do that for dozens and dozens of them. And when you get practice at that, then do it for real. Okay, so that's number 3. My number 4 piece of knowledge that every investor should start with is recognizing and knowing the value of good property management. I probably mentioned this in 8 of the last 12 podcasts, but it's very, very important. Some investors choose to bear the burden of property management themselves. It is a burden. It is a lot of work. A lot of people can and do manage lots of properties in their spare time while holding down a full-time job. It is definitely doable, and it does mean your cash flow is higher because you're not paying a property manager to do it for you. But others, and I'm included in this, will pick a qualified property manager to do it for you. What I won't do is pick the cheapest service available so that my monthly cash flow doesn't suffer, because the truth is that it would suffer if I do pick the cheapest service. You should. I've learned I've learned the hard way, really, that good management is worth paying a premium for. A trusted, high quality property management team is definitely one of your best assets, a key partner in your real estate journey. And they're the guys that are the best at finding good tenants. They know how to check income verifications, credit records, eviction histories. They know how to avoid all the mistakes that bad managers and people trying to do it themselves will inevitably make. So don't be afraid to pay extra for a premium property manager. Do try and get referrals from them. I have a list of 18 or 19 questions that I ask new property managers that I'm vetting. I'm happy to email it to people if anybody wants to get in touch with me directly. Just colin.murphy@torcana.com. So that's number 4. Do your homework on a property manager. Don't be afraid to pay them a premium. You'll get the money back. You might notice it at first, but once you've owned properties for a couple of years, you will absolutely appreciate the value that a stable tenant and a stable manager can bring. They know how to pick the people that don't wreck the house, the people that stay longer, the people that pay their rent on time. They know how to put out fires. They know how to fix problems with a minimum of fuss. They know how to prevent small problems from growing into big problems. So a lot of stuff, a lot of moving parts in property management. The 5th key of knowledge every investor should be aware of before getting stuck in is taxes. Obviously, I'm not going to talk much about taxes. I'm not a tax expert. You should be seeking tax advice on taxes, but it's very important. Everybody hates taxes, but the key is the best property investors learn to love taxes, because the truth is that real estate investors are showered with a huge range of tax benefits that other types of investors don't get access to at all. Okay, property is put on a pedestal in the USA, and there's a ton of laws and a ton of loopholes that are there to encourage people to invest in real estate. They could include tax deductions for depreciating. That's true. Even if your property value is appreciating in value, which it is in most metro areas now, you can still deduct depreciation before filing your tax returns. It's awesome. You get tax reductions for mortgage interest. Absolutely you do. That is worth hundreds of billions of dollars a year are given in tax deductions for mortgage interest. It makes a huge difference. You can get tax deductions for practically all of your running costs and repairs. There's ways, even if you buy a property and sell it at a huge profit, there's ways of postponing the capital gains on that through a 1031 tax exchange. Just Google that. A lot of savvy, qualified investors do that, where they reinvest the money they put the money in a special 1031 tax vehicle and reinvest it in other properties and keep postponing capital gains tax forever. You should talk to an expert about that if you want to know more. Other people avoid income tax by purchasing through their retirement plans, through self-directed IRAs. That's a popular strategy with people as well. So there's a huge amount to be aware of in taxes, and obviously don't take my word for it. I'm not a tax expert. You should talk to one before making any decisions about any of this, but you should absolutely be aware that real estate investors have a huge range of tax benefits, and if you're not aware of them, you're going to miss out on them. Okay, so the savviest people use them, and they learn how to love taxes, and they learn how to manage their property portfolio with the tax benefits in mind. There's a lot of them to consider. Get yourself a good CPA that can watch your back and teach you about those. Okay, so I hope you enjoy those. Those are my 5 key pieces of knowledge. I'll just summarize them quickly. The first one, decide what your goals are, write them down and track them. The second one is the relevant laws in real estate. Be aware of them. Get a good title agent and a good property manager watching your back. Third one is avoid these catchphrase rules like the 2% rule, the 5% rule. Just start looking at your own spreadsheets and practice getting 50, 60, 100 properties analyzed. Once you've done that, then you start bidding for real. That would be my advice to people. Number 4 is learn and appreciate the value of good property management and know how to vet a property manager. Know what questions you need to be asking them before you trust them managing your property. 5th one is taxes. As I've just said, real estate investors have an awful lot of tax advantages compared to other types of investors. It is well worth your time trying to learn a little bit about them and putting them to good use through the help of a CPA or some other kind of qualified tax advisor. Okay, so that's it from me from podcast number 12. I'll try and make sure that podcast number 13 follows a lot quicker than this one did. Thanks very much for listening. My name's Colin Murphy. I'm from Torcana.com. We specialize in turnkey rental properties in Tampa, Florida. If you want to check out our website, have a look at Torcana.com, Torcana.com. I'd love to hear from you. My contact details are there. Thanks for listening and have a great day. This recording contains general information relating to the real estate market and it is for educational purposes only. Buyers should always seek appropriate legal, tax and financial advice from suitably qualified professionals before entering into any real estate transaction. Actual returns from rental properties will always vary from person to person and deal to deal based on unique circumstances. While we have no reason to doubt the validity of comments of any guests on our show, we do not warrant their accuracy. Opinions of the host are not necessarily shared by other employees and partners of Torcana and its subsidiaries.